emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Citizens are advised to take the following steps. If exposed, remove emergency broadcast system.
Podcast for the curious mind. I don't know what that means.
Broadcasting live from a German-made microphone high atop the scene of the Spirit Lake Massacre. I am Jamal with special guest. We've got old May, Chris May, and Maverick joining us with grand piano in the background. Where do you live?
What's
How
up?
rich are you now?
No, I
Jesus
just
Christ.
saw there's a virtual background.
Oh no, you gotta admit to that.
Yeah.
Live
So,
from
yes, that's
$5 million
Elton John comes over and has a party.
Came over to visit Andrew Tate,
Yeah.
richest man in the world.
Happy Sunday fun day, guys. How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm living
I don't
the
know.
dream. Trying to get this story over with because it's all depressing. You guys remember Pat Tillman, don't you?
Yeah, American hero.
American fucking hero. Pat Tillman, if you notice, he's looking over my shoulder right now. He's quite the
Handsome fellow.
quite the handsome fella. The broadcasting from a remote location, if you didn't notice from the intro, at the girlfriend's house. Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. I know, right? That's why I'm in such a great mood today, gentlemen. The 3-year streak is over.
Woo!
A little pep to my step, feel a little younger. What do you have now? Is you got to quit playing with your background. Who is this guy? That's
I'm
like
sorry.
from the yes.
Way too
Catch us,
fun.
catch us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. We're streaming live there. Also, you can listen to us on your podcast player, and feel free to join our Patreon, where we have lots of great content and discussions we talk about that you just can't get here. We got a big show today, gentlemen, on old Pat Tillman. What do you remember about Pat Tillman?
Well, he played football, and then he stopped playing football and went overseas to fight, and was a casualty of war. I didn't know there was a conspiracy on this, though.
It's really interesting because I was too young at the time when the war in Afghanistan started to join the military. But I just remember that it was such a big deal that he gave up I think it was like a $3.9 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, it was a really lucrative deal.
Yeah.
For that time.
Yeah, 3.9 was no joke back in the early 2000s. And he played he played as a safety too. And so you look at his stats and they were pretty freakishly good.
Yeah,
and
which was odd too, because he was a linebacker at Arizona State. Usually you don't go from linebacker to safety. You go from safety to linebacker, when you make that conversion from the NFL or from college to the NFL. But he had so much talent, and just tools that they moved him back, and he, just like Brian Urlacher, right? But Urlacher went the other way. He was a safety in college and then moved down to that linebacker spot.
Was he really? I had no clue on that.
Yeah.
He was only 5'11". Pat Tillman was.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, he was a very tall man. He was about my size. Yeah, so we're going to do a show on him because there is some odd things that happened with Pat Tillman. But first, before we go there, get a little facts about Pat Tillman before we go down the conspiracy train. Now, Pat Tillman was born November 6, 1976. Now, I got an interview here. He was in high school, and I got clips too I want to share with you guys so you can sort of see the type of player he was. What really shot him up to fame, though, was when he became a college player for Arizona State University, the Sun Devils. And I got this for you, man. Here, let me screen share for you. I'll show you what shot him into fame, along with the Arizona State football team. Give me a sec here. I became unprepared. Click on this. All right, here we go. You guys see that? All right.
I can.
And if you want to see, you can always join the live broadcast. Here we go. Pat Tillman.
Pat Tillman wanted to play college at Stanford, but the interest wasn't mutual. So he moved on and accepted the last of Arizona State 25 football scholarships. When the freshman arrived in Tempe in 1994, he already had an exit strategy in place.
He walked in, he told Bruce Snyder, he said, Bruce, I'm going to be here for 4 years and I'm gone. He knew he wasn't redshirting. He always had a plan and a purpose.
Tillman spent 2 seasons as a special teams standout before earning a starting spot at linebacker on one of the greatest teams in school history.
Absolutely nothing meant by Pat. If there's contact to be made, Pat Tillman's going to find it.
He changed games. He would destroy offenses, sometimes single-handedly.
They just turning loose. Mr. Pat Tillman in hell again. He's a 3.87 student, and obviously he spends much more time in the library than he ever did the barbershop.
Is that a racist statement?
No, they're referring to his long hair.
Yeah, how is that?
Yeah,
Racist?
Maybe
Like only white people can go to library? Is that what you're insinuating there, buddy?
Or just whites can have long hair?
all right. Let's
In '96, good players became great. Everyone took a step up, including Pat. Amazing is one of the biggest wins in school history happened so early in the year.
Yeah.
Live from Sundown
We love Nebraska, right?
That's my team.
calling on the Arizona State Sun Devils. 26 consecutive victories and looking to repeat as national champion.
Now, May is our Nebraska Husker aficionado. How good were the Huskers back in the 90s?
I mean, we were the best. We were the top of the mountain.
One of the
Do you
best
remember-
teams. Now, oh, go ahead.
Do you remember Matt Slauson?
Oh, yeah.
Cornhuskers? So he went to my high school and he actually trained me my junior year going into senior year.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. My neighbor, when we lived on the Air Force Academy, was best friends with Matt Slauson, and he was looking for money one summer before when he was back home, and he's like, "Hey, I'll train you." So his dad was the principal at Wasson High School in Colorado Springs, and we'd go there in the mornings and go lift, and then go eat a shit ton of Chipotle.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that
In
man
Nebraska-
taught me that when you eat Chipotle, you just dump salt on the top.
Yeah. I don't know why you showed this. Why didn't you show in 97 when Arizona State beat your Iowa Hawkeyes?
Yeah, you know exactly why I'm showing this.
Yeah.
They had
Sure.
26 consecutive game winning. All right, they won 26 consecutive games. The Huskers did, and they were on top of the mountain. And then they came across Pat Tillman in the Arizona State University Sun Devils.
What year was this again?
1 year earlier, the Sun Devils traveled
96.
where the Cornhuskers handed them a humiliating 77-28 loss.
Is that Amon Green? Go, Pick Boys.
Always on a course to not ever take that again.
77-28.
We knew we were a better football team, and we had a quiet confidence about us.
Any
I
hopes
do
of
love
defeating
Jake Plummer.
defending national champion rested on stopping the run. So Tillman's mission was to neutralize future Pro Bowl running back Amon Green.
And the option pitch this time to Green trying to get outside. Sun Devils played it exactly right. Tillman tossed him out of bounds. Pitch to Green. He loses it. He's in the end zone. Ball is safety. And Tillman had his hands on it.
I feel like you should have preloaded this video.
For most of the game, everybody's kind of looking over their shoulder. Oh, it's Nebraska. Oh, they haven't scored yet. Wait till they start scoring. And you get in people's faces, you wouldn't let anybody relax.
There's only been 2 shutouts to the number 1 team in the last 40 years. Ahman Green running into the end zone for Nebraska at the end for a meaningless touchdown, fumbles, and Pat recovers that ball. And so I think a lot of people have in their head Pat Tillman lifting that ball up and running off the field. That night, I don't know if it can ever be topped.
That was the defining moment for his college team back then. And sorry, man.
I mean, I don't know about defining moment. He had some really
defining.
good games, but
Just destroyed the number one team of the land. Destroyed the number one team of the land.
let me
Held
get
them
out of the way.
scoreless.
Shit.
Yeah. And I think it's important to understand his football career because it speaks to a lot of the type of guy Pat Tillman was. Now, there's a story from high school that he got, so they were whooping up on a team, right, in high school. And so the coach, after the first half, pulled all the starters. And Pat Tillman snuck out for the kickoff starting of the third quarter and returned it for a touchdown. And the coach had to physically confiscate his pads and his helmet so that he wouldn't sneak out again. Like, that's the type of guy this man was. He was just a brute, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So when September 11th happened, now you guys remember when September 11th happened. I mean, it changed the whole mentality of this country. And Pat Tillman led the charge there, and there was interview there. Let me pull up this interview he had on I believe it was CBS. He did an interview right after September 12th. So the next day, he had this interview. I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it.
You know, it's like anything you can't get for granted, especially we live in. We are such a free society, and you know, we look at that flag, and I've always had a great deal of feeling for the flag, but even someone who considers themselves that way, you just don't think about it all the time. You don't realize what it gives. You don't realize how great a life we have over here. Even as athletes, we bitch and moan every now and again about this or that, and if we ever just, you know, times like this, you stop and think about just how, not only how good we have it, but what kind of a system we live under, what freedoms were allowed. And that wasn't built over, and it's kind of, the flag is a symbol of all that, a symbol of, you know, my great grandfather was at Pearl Harbor, and a lot of my family has given up, you know, has gone and fought in wars, and I really haven't done a damn thing as far as laying myself on the line like that. And so I have a great deal of respect for those that have, and what the flag stands for.
I think that just speaks volumes to the type of mentality this guy had, you know, and his whole family were very, very involved with the military throughout generations. And he had regret after September 11th for not participating. He called himself, really, we're just glorified actors, is what he said. So I think you can sort of get an idea of like how devoted this guy was and his mentality towards the nation. And, you know, usually with those people, they're gun ho. You know what I mean? And he was too. And him, and I didn't know this, but him and his brother, after the football season ended in 2001, him and his brother both went into the army the same day, went through the same basic training, and served
That's pretty awesome.
Served together. They served together in the same unit, and they worked themselves up to be Rangers. Now, not only that, but like Pat Tillman was like especially loyal. So he wanted to go to Stanford. They didn't want him. He took the last scholarship spot in Arizona. And when he went pro, the St. Louis Rams offered him $9 million to come play with it. And he turned it down for $3.9 million with the Arizona Cardinals. So like he was like the type of guy that if you were honest to him and dedicated to him, he'd give you everything he had. And I think that showed.
Yeah, it was that 5-year, $9 million contract by the Rams. Yeah. And then, but it was what I was reading was he took a 1-year deal worth $512,000, just a 1-year deal.
Oh, to play with the Cardinals at the beginning?
to stay with the Cardinals instead of going to the Rams.
Oh wow.
5 years over 9 for one at 500,000. That's pretty crazy. But that was that goes to that loyalty,
Right, you'd have to be loyal to want to stay in Arizona. So
yeah. Well, and two, just the money is not important. He wanted to stay with the team that gave him a chance. And they took him in the 7th round at like 265 or 2 something. What pick was he? Yeah, 226.
Damn.
Yeah.
What year did he play? What year did he get drafted again?
Let's see. He was drafted in 1998.
Yep, 98. So he played 4 years? 3 years.
Yeah.
With the with Arizona Cardinals. And then number 11th happens. He finishes out his season. Turns down, was it $3.9 million contract? And joins the Army. Now, if he approached the Army as he did football, which I'm pretty sure he did, he was all in. And he was, if you remember in the early days with Afghanistan, I think everyone was okay with bombing the crap out of Afghanistan because we wanted to kill Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And then, we didn't really care if there was no high value targets in Afghanistan. We just wanted to kill Osama bin Laden. And then in 2004, we invade Iraq too for weapons of mass destruction, which I think we've proven through the past few episodes that the Bush family probably had other motives involved when it came to that.
I think everybody knows that by now.
Besides Devin.
Poor Devin. He's not here to even defend himself, but you're right. So Pat Tillman is serving in not just in the Army. He's an Army Ranger. Now, what do you guys know about the Rangers?
About the what?
The Army Rangers.
Oh, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean that's where a lot of guys want to climb and think that they, because I think that's what, I don't know if it's everybody's mindset, but when you join the military, you want to be a part of their special elite, groups, and the Rangers are, they're up there, and everybody, that's just that bad boy, that top of the food chain kind of mentality, And
they have 8 weeks of training just to become a Ranger. That's an absolute crazy type of workout and training that goes involved, and they're pretty much assassins. They go. I was talking to my neighbor who served in the Army, and he was saying that those guys, they're set aside to go in, small group of guys. They go in and they find high value targets and they kill them without anyone knowing they're there. They're pretty much the Navy SEALs of the Army.
Right.
They're not just a bunch of grunts. They're not to disagree by any means, but they're the best of the best in that division of the military, branch of the military. And Pat Tillman and his brother were both a part of it. And he served a few tours. So now he falls in love with his high school sweetheart and marries her. And then he takes his first deployment. And he serves. And then he takes his second deployment and serves. And on let's see here, what date was it? On April 22nd, 2004, him and his group of I can't think of the military terminology, his group of guys are operating out of a base, and they've gotten a high value target that they got to go up into the mountains and kill. And they're sweeping towns looking for these insurgents in Afghanistan. And a Humvee breaks down. Their Humvee breaks down. Now they call into base, and they think it's a water pump that went bad. So they fly in that evening, a water pump, but that doesn't fix the Humvee. So now they got to hire someone because the military won't send a Chinook helicopter to pick up the Humvee. So they got to hire a local to be a tow truck driver and drive it through the mountains back to their forward operating base. And so this guy, he hooks up, and the road they wanted to take is too treacherous. And the guy in the truck is like, no, I'm not hauling your Humvee through these mountains. We got to take this other road. So they take this other road, and they decide that they're going to split off as they go through this canyon. And so half of the boys go to the other side of the ridge line. Some of the guys stay by the Humvee, and Pat Tillman's on the other side. And all of a sudden, they encounter fire from the enemy, and they start firing down on their position. And Pat Tillman, along with another private and an Afghan soldier that was helping them, charge up the ridge line. And they charge up the ridge line, and they're shooting back at the insurgents that are firing down upon them. And they save the entire group of guys stuck down in the valley. And the one Afghan helper that was helping them, he gets shot in the gut and dies. And the other guy is stuck behind a rock and can't fire back. And Pat says, I'm fucking Pat Tillman, pops a smoke grenade, starts firing down on these guys, and then takes a bullet to the head and dies immediately. And takes a few more bullets to the head. 3. 1, 2, 3. Right there. All in the forehead. And he dies. And the military notices him for his bravery. They immediately issue him a Silver Star for engaging the enemy and saving his men. And they call the parents and his wife and let him know that he has passed away. But he passed away as a goddamn hero, as Pat Tillman. And that's the story. Pat Tillman.
Damn, I've never actually heard that story.
Well, the mom of Pat Tillman is thinking, man, that sure sounds perfect for TV, doesn't it? And so they start investigating. And there are rumors being spread throughout the Army Ranger camp and forward operating base because there was no fire from insurgents that day. And so one of the people lets the parents know that there's something fishy. And Donald, I don't know if you guys remember the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had personally written a letter to Pat Tillman thanking him for leaving the NFL and joining the military. And all of a sudden, he's very hush about answering any questions about Pat Tillman, as well as all the higher ranks of the military. But the guys that were there all say a different story. He said, "Oh no, he was shot by one of ours." Now, what makes it even more interesting is that Pat Tillman's armor and his uniform and all his personal belongings are burned that night and not returned to the wife. Everything's burned. And there's no evidence of his clothing. There's no records from the examiner of his body. and they find out that it's 5.56 rounds that went into his head. Now they say, well, I guess we'll have to reopen an investigation. So 4 years later, they open an investigation after the constant harassment of his parents. I mean, his dad wrote a letter to Donald Rumsfeld. And let me play a clip from Larry King Live when this was all going down of what the parents were thinking. This is a few years later.
That's been more than 6 years, Mary, since he was killed. Do you know the whole truth?
No, we don't know the whole truth. I mean, that we're asked that question frequently. There's probably 3 scenarios that we could come up with in terms of what may have happened to him. But as Pat's father has said in the past, they never did a criminal investigation after Pat was killed. So without that criminal investigation, they destroyed evidence, which is long gone. There really is no way for us to know exactly what happened to him.
You're an attorney, Pat.
I am.
Well, as an attorney's mind would say, I want to know, I want to get answers here. Why can't you get answers?
Well, because I don't have the authority to make them answer the questions. The questions we want answered need to be answered through a prosecution. We have asked and asked and asked. We have 5 investigations that are not appropriate responses. It's put in charge of doing a proper investigation and somebody that didn't have an agenda.
All right, here's what the Army said. We have a statement, and the Army has given us a statement. By the way, we attempted to contact also Donald Rumsfeld, who was Secretary of Defense at this time, and General McChrystal, the retired general who just left. They both declined. But here's what the Army said. Pat Tillman died going to the aid of his fellow Rangers. He epitomized the Army values of loyalty, duty, and selfless service. As an Army, we failed in our duty to the memory of a fallen soldier and to his family. The failures of a few brought discredit to the Army and compounded the grief suffered by the Tillman family. The Army truly regrets the pain and suffering endured by the Tillman family as a result of this tragic, friendly fire accident and the shortfalls in reporting accurate information to them days and weeks after Pat's death.
And this is his brother's opening comments for the congressional hearing. I think you guys should see this too.
I want to thank Chairman Waxman for holding this hearing and members of the committee for attending. My name is Ken Tillman. 2 days ago marked the 3rd anniversary of the death of my older brother Pat Tillman, Spear, Afghanistan. To our family and friends, it was a devastating loss. To the nation, it was a moment of disorientation. To the military, it was a nightmare. But to others within the government, it appears to have been an opportunity. April of 2004 was turning into the deadliest month to date in the war in Iraq. Rebellions in the Jef and Fallujah handed the U.S. forces their first tactical defeat as American commanders essentially surrendered Fallujah to members of Iraq resistance, and the administration was forced to accede to Ayatollah Sistani's demand for January elections in exchange for assistance in extricating U.S. forces from its battle with the Mahdi militia. A call of 20,000 additional troops was ordered, and another 20,000 troops had their tours of duty extended. In the midst of this, the White House learned that Christian Parente, Seymour Hersh, and other journalists were about to reveal a shocking scandal involving massive and systemic detainee abuse in a facility known as Abu Ghraib. Then on April.
So just to give a little reminder of what was going on then. So now the Afghanistan war has turned into the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And the U.S. is receiving more losses than ever before as far as troops being killed and injured in the battlefield. They've had to surrender key points in Iraq. And nobody was really all for going. I mean, even the nation wasn't all for going into the Iraq War. And Pat Tillman did an interview 2 weeks before he got shot down by friendly fire, as the Army came out later to say. And in the interview, this is what the journalist said: "Pat, you're down to your tour. You're getting out pretty soon." "Yeah, I'm getting out in 2 weeks, and I'm going back to the States," Pat says. The journalist responds, "Are you going to stay in the Army?" Pat goes, "No. When I get out, I'm going to be the biggest whistleblower America has ever seen."
Whew.
Now,
Well,
he
the
had,
open shut case.
Yeah.
Fuck.
He shouldn't have
He
said
had-
that. Dang it.
he had reached out to a man by the name of Noam Chomsky. You guys know who that is. He's very outspoken against government corruption. Also, he's got a few other things on his plate. But he had reached out to Noam Chomsky, and they were going to meet up when he got out of the Army. Now, the code for the Rangers is never leave a man behind and never leave your country in disgrace. That's what they had ingrained in their heads. And so he was going to return to the States, and he had been keeping a diary that was loaded with damning accounts of corruption. This included the exceptional oversell of heroin that was going on in Afghanistan, where the poppy fields were not being burned, and they were using they were using it to fund the pharmaceutical company, and it funded the war effort too, the selling of these drugs. Now, what's interesting is that in the story the military gave is that he was shot. So after they got called out for it not being this heroic death that they had claimed had happened, they changed their story. They said it was fratricide, which is a friendly fire, and that a sniper on the other side of the ridge had seen the Afghan who was working with the military charge up the ridgeline, and they thought he was the one firing down in the canyon. And so that's why they opened fire on that ridgeline and killed the Afghan. And they didn't see the two other Americans that were right there with him, and they just assumed that part of the insurgents that were firing down in the canyon. And so they opened fire on the Afghan, and then they opened fire on Pat Tillman in the private. And it was about 50 yards away. And he had been shot with a M16. Now, as a man who plays Warzone and other games, the M16 is my favorite rifle to use in PUBG and in Warzone. Absolutely favorite, because it has a 3-round burst. And now the claim is that that's where the 3 bullets to the head came from. 1, 2, 3, and that's what killed him. But in order for it to be that tight of a what do they call that, when the tight of a spread?
The grouping.
Yeah, the grouping to be that it's an M16, you would have to be less than 10 yards away from the person.
Yeah, it's shit.
Now
you can't have a grouping that tight on that.
Now they're saying that the shot came from a guy that was 50 yards away. Now, I was thinking of just the grouping, but I wasn't thinking about the bullets that were being used. They said after the first shot, you would not be able to see another bullet hole, because it would have blown his head off with the type of bullets they were using. So the type of shot that he got hit by was either by a pistol or by a sniper, which you know, I thought that was sort of interesting. Also, the autopsy was was not conducted, and now they requested a freedom of impact for the DoD's report, and this is this information that has been confirmed. There's let's see here, 4 interesting things about what came out of this Freedom of Information Act. First of all, there had never been any evidence of enemy fire found on the scene, and no member of Tillman's group had been hit by enemy fire. Now, his brother was down in the canyon, stuck behind the Humvee, so he doesn't see any of this happen. He just hears the shots, right? The 3-star general, who withheld details of Tillman's death from his parents for a number of months, told investigators at least 70 times that he had a bad memory and couldn't recall details of his actions during that day. Army attorneys sent each other congratulatory emails for keeping criminal investigators at bay. The Army conducted an internal friendly fire investigation that resulted in administrative or non-criminal punishment. Armies told the investigators that Tillman's wounds suggest murder because the medical evidence did not match up with the scenario that had been described.
Now, so did the Army or the military, did they close the circle by eliminating the people that or the person or persons that shot and killed Pat? Or
Well,
are those
it was
people still breathing and walking, do you think?
those people. That's the thing though, is like they heard the shots go off, and people starting because they thought that they were getting fired upon, but they never received any enemy fire. And according to this one article I was reading within his journal, and tell me what you guys think of this. No one knows what was in the journal. Only the soldiers who burned his notebook know for sure. But what he had been talking about is that Afghanistan was the heroin capital of the world. It had the largest acreage of poppy seeds grown anywhere in the world. And the area is known to be controlled by the CIA and protected by U.S. military personnel, those are all true statements. The poppy fields were protected the entire time. They didn't burn poppy fields when they were in Afghanistan. They kept them in operation. And according to what people had said Pat Tillman was talking about, is that he thought that there was a crazy amount of governmental corruption going, and they were being forced to comply by, they all had to sign NDAs. They couldn't talk about their experiences while they were in Afghanistan. And according to the CDC, between 2002 and 2013, the rate of heroin-related overdose deaths in the U.S. quadrupled. Some of the greatest increases occurred in demographic groups with historically low rates of heroin use: women, privately insured, and people with higher incomes. This is the exact time that we were in Afghanistan, or fully involved in Afghanistan.
It's just wild. Imagine signing up because you're going over there to think that you're fighting for your country because you were attacked, and like you believe in the flag, you believe in protecting the people. And then when you get over there, your eyes are opened to how slimy and corrupt the government is that you are protecting. And you almost have to die because you can't talk about it. You can't, probably no one's going to believe you. Or if you do get tired of it and you just let it slip, you're dead. They're going to kill you. So it's like you are a trapped prisoner at that point, because I guarantee you didn't sign up for that. You went over there thinking something else, and then you realize that you are so thick into it that literally the only way out is death, unfortunately, because if you come back, they're not going to believe you, or they're going to try to corrupt you, and you're going to be living under a bridge as a crazy person. And the craziest thing is the best way to come back, unfortunately, is in a box with a flag on top of you, because you're dead either way in a sense. There's no way. That blows my mind. Blows my freaking mind.
Now Tillman, under special instructions for the Army form he had to sign, scrawled, "I do not want the military having any direct involvement in my funeral." He received a Silver Star quicker than anyone else has received a Silver Star. And
did they take it away?
Here's the problem. No, they let him keep it. They also posthumously made him a colonel or a corporal, from specialist to corporal after his death. Now, what it seems to me, guys, is Pat Tillman, right? I mean, he was blasted all over the news when he gave up his NFL contract to join the military. And I remember that as a kid. Like, everyone talked about Pat Tillman. What a sacrifice. If an NFL star will do this, you should do this. If an NFL star is willing to give up $3.9 million to play in a glorified sport where everyone worships you, to serve his country, and to not only serve his country, but become one of the elite assassins of the Army. And he was on 60 Minutes. I mean, he was just blasted all over the place. Fox News, Pat Tillman. Now, Pat Tillman, who we know goes all in, right? Pat Tillman is the type of guy that goes all in and is sort of that, sort of has that pure, like, he didn't seem like a guy that would have ever suspected the military to be involved in something like this. So he goes into the military, going to serve his country like his grandpappy did in Pearl Harbor and like other family members did in Vietnam. And he's going to go into the military and serve and be, do the honorable right thing, right? That's his whole mentality. Do the honorable right thing for the flag. And then he gets over there and, he goes on his first tour and probably notices there's some odd things going on with the poppy fields. And then we go into Iraq, which we had no reason to go into Iraq. And I mean, I remember being a kid and watching Colin Powell hold up the little baggie of yellow cake. It's like, this is what they're growing here. And these holes in the ground are missile silos that Saddam's building. And I remember as a kid thinking, man, that's just not convinced. And I was 13, 14, so much less who knows what Pat Tillman was thinking at that time. And he was very public about thinking we shouldn't be in Iraq, very public about it, which goes against the credence of the Rangers. You don't put your country in bad light when you're serving as a Ranger. So now on top of that, he's keeping written record so he can share it with Noam Chomsky when he gets out of the military. And then 2 weeks before he's supposed to be done, he gets 3 bullets in the head from fire that never happened that day. It's just, I think it's very
it makes
odd.
me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. That,
as a side note, I did find that the Army Special Forces and Navy SEALs use the MK-12 mod, which is a 5.56 sniper. That's what Chris Kyle used in the movie. So awesome Call of Duty gun as well.
Well, they were saying that they were using M16s, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. It's interesting because when they interviewed Noam Chomsky about it, he was very, very, very vague. Very vague about what his conversations with Pat Tillman were about. And I mean, it probably...
Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows anything?
If he did, he would have released something by now.
You think?
Well,
yeah.
Well, after, I mean, you think so? After you see what he did to Pat Tillman, I think you would be a little more reserved to release anything.
Yeah, you would hide. I think you would hide. Yeah, you would try to disappear from the government, which I don't know if it's possible, but
or maybe wash your hands of it and try to find corruption.
Yeah, but then what? You just like, okay, listen, I won't turn anything on. I'll just be one of your little informants. You're still getting in bed with them. It's like,
right.
Well, and Pat Tillman, I mean, he just seemed to have that mentality of what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And he was probably naive enough to think like, hey, if I whistleblow this, well, also what else was happening in 2004, 6 months from his death?
Election year.
Election year. It was an election year, and we know how the Bushes are as a family, and the type of competition that they can't stand. So, I mean, what would it be to them to kill a soldier? The problem was the parents. They sniffed out the story. Now, they probably thought, hey, we're going to take freaking story about how wonderful Pat was and how he charged the ridgeline and saved a whole battalion of men and forced the insurgents back to their cave, and he died like he played football, a hero. And then they were going to walk away and keep doing what they were doing. And the dad, who was a lawyer, and the mom, who, moms have that sense of when they're being bullshitted too, would not let it go. They just kept over and over and over again complaining, saying something's not right. And it probably took them by surprise, I would think, right? I mean, the Bushes are sort of that fucking stupid that, they would just think, hey, this is this fucking dumb family. They're going to be like, oh, our son died a hero and blah, blah, blah.
They're
and
gonna leave it at that.
You're going to leave it at that. Because why would you want to take away from your son's legacy like that? And it fits
Good on
their
them.
narrative.
Good on them. I just wish they could bring it all down, which obviously you can't because no one's able to yet. But
who would have done it though? It would have had CIA is the only plausible group in that area. Because I mean, special forces and Navy SEALs across branches. 'Cause I mean, I've met several like Green Berets and things like that. It's such a close knit brotherhood that they will have each other's back no matter what, even if they're cross branches. So
and you couldn't convince
So was it a
them.
drone?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like they weren't even allowed. They weren't even allowed to examine his body or where the bullets came from, because you could tell the trajectory of the bullet by where it hit him and where it exited, right? And they weren't even
But
allowed.
who burned his
to
stuff? Who
was he cremated?
I don't believe
you
he was
said somebody
cremated.
burned all his uniform
Nope,
and his
they burned his uniform, his body armor, and all his personal possessions, which I didn't think.
Other Rangers did that, or who? Who do you think did that? Because
Well, they
then
may
that
have-
goes back to the brotherhood thing. Like, why would you like? That's why I was wondering if it was another Ranger or someone who did like. You don't hear about them turning on them like that because I don't know. That's
The Army doctors told the investigators that the tightly grouped wounds suggested murder and urged them to launch a criminal investigation, which would not be pursued. And the fact that they were the attorneys for the Army were congratulating each other for, hey, good job on not letting any criminal investigation come into this case. I mean, that was released from the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe it was a military friendly.
No,
I don't think it was anyone from his unit. They said he was
yeah.
And plus, I mean, that would have gotten out. Like if they'd gone around asking those, I mean, and that would, I would think, destroy morale as well. Like, hey, we're being asked to assassinate our own. That's just not going to happen. But
Well,
if
those
those
loose ends, those loose ends would have been tied up. That's what I'm saying. Like, who else randomly died 6 months after or 2 years after? Because then that would tell you, oh, let's connect those dots. But if no one else in that platoon or whatever mysteriously died from assassination or suicide, then that would point to CIA drone or do a CIA something in general. Because, like you said, like if I just don't think you could be like, hey, you're part of this special group, but we need you to assassinate one of your own. Like, we need you to make this look Like, so I don't think anybody would do that. I don't know. I think you would die. You would be like, you're gonna have to kill me because I'm not doing that, right or no?
Yeah, no, you're right, but you also brought up morale, and I think if Pat Tillman would have came back and whistle-blown everything he found over there, I think that would have been a shot to morale for all special forces. I mean, who would want to join the military to sacrifice their life to do this shit if you're
What
gonna
you
do
said.
the sketchy shit? So I
Then
mean,
no one in their right mind would join any of the military because of what you just said. Because you're gonna sign up, you're believing one thing, and then, like I said, when you get in there and you realize, oh fuck, I'm not protecting the flag. I'm doing the dirty, slimy bullshit that these fucking turds want to do, and now I'm controlled. You went in with one mindset to protect, to serve, to fight for the flag and the people at home, mom, dad, brother, sister. But then when you get over there, all you are is a puppet to the controlled, and you do all the slimy underhanding bidding, you do all that nasty stuff. Nobody would join. Nobody would sign up for that.
Well,
I
and
think, right?
it's not just joining. It's not just joining, but you're going through your worst losses in the military since the beginning of this war has taken place. You know what I mean? Like the worst. I mean, Afghanistan, we were just mowing them down. It was super easy, right? And it was just win, 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 win. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, we're losing. You know, we're not losing the overall picture, but we're losing ground, we're losing cities, we're losing men. You know, we're having thousands of people being killed in counterattacks by the Iraqi, by insurgents, Afghanistan and Iraq. You've got two fronts now going on. People are starting to be like, hey, wait a second, like we were supposed to be going after Osama bin Laden, and now we're going after Iraq. I mean, I remember all of that talk. Like there was confusion. Like, okay, so what if they're building weapons of mass destruction? They didn't run the planes into the towers on 9/11, like, so what does that matter to us? And so all of this stuff, let's go join the army and let's support our president type of talk starts to stop and slow down, and people are starting to like rethink what's the real reason why we're over there. And then you have someone who's been publicized nonstop for joining, and he's going to come out and say right before election, hey, President Bush has got CIA agents over in Afghanistan and they're harvesting poppy seeds. Heroin has quadrupled since we shown up here. And the pharmaceutical companies are all getting a cut of this. Who knows where the transition from CIA to who was buying this stuff and sending it back to the States was from? Like who knows where that was from? And in law, a journal is counted as evidence that can be used. So if he's keeping a journal of all the type of contacts that are being made, the people that they're, are in charge of these deals, which I would assume you would have some basic idea controlling this when, or at least you would have names of people who weren't branches of the military that were in charge of these poppy fields, and you're keeping document of all that, and all of a sudden all of that just disappears. And Pat Tillman died a hero, and they rushed out a Silver Star to prove that he was a hero. And they gave him one hell of a funeral, and all of the media outlets were just, oh, Pat Tillman died a hero, Pat Tillman died a hero. Meanwhile, his mom is getting 4 different stories in a matter of 6 months of what happened to him. She knows something up that none of the stories are lining up. The doctors are over there saying, listen, this looks like murder to me. This looks like murder to me. It's our own gun, and the spacing of the bullet holes are just way too close to be from any type of distance other than right in front of you. 10 yards is nothing. That's 30 feet away. Yeah, you're not accidentally shooting your own guy 30 feet away and not knowing it's your own guy.
Could it have been the Afghanis that were tied to them? Did they have Afghanis?
I mean, that's an interesting thought, but I mean, there's plenty of evidence where the military saw that the guy got his guts ripped out of him before Pat Tillman died. You know,
And half of them
there's
couldn't shoot to save their life anyways. So, like seriously though.
well, he was
But
rocking
that's
an
all
AK-47 too. That guy
yeah.
was rocking. I mean, they were all rocking mostly AK-47s from when we were helping out the Mujahideen back in the 80s. We were pumping AK-47s to them. So
I just hope Pat didn't see it. That's the only thing. I just hope he didn't. Unfortunately, I just hope he didn't see someone that he thought was, on the same team deliver the, I mean, because
But
there's nothing you can do at that point. But damn, like that just pisses me off. No wonder now they've lowered their standards for anybody to get to join the service because they can't get anybody to do it because we've all opened our eyes to see how crooked it is.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy though. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Good. Go ahead.
So there is, and I'll do a shout out for Devin as well. There is a growing rise in the Libertarian Party now, and a lot of it are people that have deployed, have been in the military, and are coming out. A huge Libertarian basis now are veterans.
Yeah.
And
because exactly. I work with a couple guys that served, and that's kind of where they fit in, is that Libertarian in the middle, because they know the Republicans ain't going to do shit for them and the Democrats just aren't going to do anything for them. So they're hoping that they band together and they really can shine some light on, being a puppet, I guess. I keep circling back to it because that's all you really are. You're just, like you're fed one thing and you're told to do a whole nother thing. You got to stick together and band together and hope that you can take down this crooked society. But it's
right.
It's
what I don't get though is if Pat Tillman was very outspoken that he was going to be a whistleblower and he knew all this shit and he had blogs and books, like there's no way he was stupid. Like he must have known if he knew this shit that could destroy a lot, that they would go after him at the government level.
I bet he thought, I mean, I would think just knowing his type of mentality. And I think that's why I led with what he did in high school and what he did in college and what he did in pro. Like he had a good sized ego on him, and he probably
you don't think he would have gone to his brother and said like, "Hey, Kevin, like I know all of this shit.
Yeah.
There's potential something could happen to me because like now you're not only fucking with like the war effort, but you're talking about CIA ran poppies, and like the CIA since the beginning has been the sketchiest motherfucking organization in the world. You don't think he passed this stuff along to somebody?
I don't think he passed it to his brother though, just for protection. He probably thought, I would hope he would think, I can't give this to Kevin because I don't want him to die. But you would think he would have done something. That's what I'm like. You didn't try to push that out as because he had an ego, but there's no way his ego was like, you're big enough to take down the government, the CIA.
I mean, he sat there and called. He was sitting there talking to Noam Chomsky as a soldier.
Yeah, but somebody's got to know what he knew.
You're in the military; they're listening to your calls, and you're trying. He's using lines to get a hold of Noam Chomsky. It seems to me that maybe he was a little bit. I mean, we already know he was a bit naive by listening to that interview, and he's it's all for the flag and nothing wrong with this country. People, I mean, it's all the talking points. Like the guy was inundated with the righteousness of the U.S. military, and probably especially like he didn't want. I mean, you're serving with these group of guys that are an elite force, right? I don't know, like you. I don't know. It's all very odd. I don't know the exact answer to everything. I'm just saying these are the facts that are odd. Is like we know. I mean, the 6th largest GDP that comes out of the U.S. is pharmaceuticals. You know, that's the 6th largest money maker for the U.S. government is in pharmaceuticals. So, you know, you're not just taking on the U.S. Army in corruption or the White House in corruption or the CIA in corruption. You're taking on businesses that don't give a fuck about you. You know, it could very well have been that sector from that private sector, you know, that found out. Either way, he had found something out and was going to talk to Noam Chomsky about it, and never got the chance to. And Noam Chomsky won't discuss. I'm gonna see if I can find it. You guys go ahead and chit chat about this while I see if I can find it.
No, this is just wild.
It's
Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty fucking sketchy. They tend to like hide kind of friendly fire shit a lot. The whole Bergdahl stuff.
There had not been one case.
Didn't make a big deal about it.
There had not been one case of friendly fire. Not one case of friendly fire the entire 3 years. Not one soldier was attributed to friendly fire. And I watched plenty of Vietnam interviews where they said almost like 40% of the deaths in Vietnam came from friendly fire. And that didn't just stop overnight when we went over here. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You watch those. They said there was so many cases of friendly fire that were going on.
Yeah, because it's just a clusterfuck.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's exactly it.
But I could see friendly, and I've never served or Call of Duty. I could see like in a small town or urban environment how like shit can get hectic, and maybe that's an issue. But I'm pretty sure Rangers go to like very remote areas to where they're not really going to be in these like crazy like multi-group battles.
And it's what, a group of 6, maybe 4. It's a tight, small unit. Like it's not.
I didn't
not
see
30,
how many.
40 people where you can where you
It's like
have to
15 or
determine
20.
friendly, enemy.
Well, and I mean, like you're going to be able to, like what they're trained is they have to acquire the target and know who they're shooting at before they fire. Now that could all get thrown away if you're under fire. You're probably just going to start firing back in the direction.
Yeah, but you look at a sniper group, and I'm pretty sure like those are not the guys that they're not meant to be seen. So
Yeah.
I don't think they would have initiated something unless they gave up their position.
That's what Noam Chomsky's remarks on Pat Tillman were. Eventually. That's great editing by me. Really good job. $3.6 million. I kept saying 3.9.
Maybe Noam Chomsky put this
And it
together.
says,
No words.
I do have a question from our visual.
All right. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Well, Professor, I do have a question from our visual audience. And it says, is it true Pat Tillman was corresponding with you and planned a meeting before he was killed by friendly fire in Afghanistan? And what was he needing to discuss?
It's in essence true, but the specific facts are that shortly before he went to Afghanistan, I was contacted by, he couldn't do it, but I was contacted by his friends and family. And we did arrange to meet when he came back. And I don't want to mind, of course, but it was pretty clear from the discussion that he wanted to discuss the question of the justice of the U.S. war in Afghanistan and other regional issues.
Fucking coward. Noam Chomsky's a fucking coward.
Dude, no, Chomsky is a very outspoken person, though.
Yeah, you hear how he worked his way around that, though?
Took the big detour. Yeah.
Yeah. But if he would have known something, he would have said something. It would have leaked. Julian Assange, it would have leaked at some point.
Yeah, it's odd. I mean, why won't he talk about what Pat Tillman wanted to talk about with him?
Yeah, I don't know. Unless he's the one that did it.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, Maynard.
That's fucking crazy.
That's the story of Pat Tillman. American hero. Probably American hero for a whistleblower, too.
Do you think it'd be different today if that would have happened today? Do you think there would have been a similar outcome? Because right now the government will do sketchy shit and flat out tell you that we're doing sketchy shit, and then we'll forget about it in 2 weeks.
Well, I think these are all lessons that have been learned since the beginning of the war in 2001. I think they learned better ways to handle whistleblowers. And, I mean, Seth Green, we got to do an episode on him. He was another whistleblower that's been assassinated. But this is, it's different too with the military because it's not just like some civilian whistleblowing. You've got an elite ranger, highly publicized as a war hero, as he goes into war, worshipped by ESPN, Sports Illustrated, all of them, Everyone knew Pat Tillman's name before he died. And then he dies. But if he doesn't die and he comes out and they've talked about his credibility this whole time and what a hero he is, and he comes out before the election and says, hey, all this shit is going on, people would have believed him more so because they had built him up as an honorable guy. So now it's double the, not just some civilian with, something, some sort of bridge to burn with whatever government agency he was working with, or, now they just do what they did to Julian Assange. They just keep him in prison, in solitary confinement, and let him die slowly that way where he can't speak out, But, Bushes have always been a fan of assassinations. They've always been a fan of assassinations. They do it all the time.
It's like a hobby. Most people collect trains and autographs. They're like, assassination? Well, sign me up. I'll do that right now. It's like, get out of here.
They're competing with the Clintons. But
yeah.
The government killed George Patton, so I could see it happening.
Well, and the story of, was it General Smedley, who wrote the book War is a Racket? Have you guys ever read that book?
No, I haven't.
The most decorated war general of his time up to that point in time came out with a book called War is a Racket. And I wish Pat Tillman would have read that before joining the Army, because he talked about how they were pretty much the enforcement for the sugarcane and spice companies during the Spanish. They would just go through and kill people who wouldn't trade with the U.S., and they were just hired guns. And they had come to him they wanted him to, they were going to run a coup against Taft, I believe. Can't remember who the president was at the time. And they wanted him to become the president. And he turned them down and wrote that book immediately afterward. And if you ever get a chance to read it, I suggest you read it, because it shows you a lot of what our military, what their real mission is. It has very little to do with freedom and a lot more to do with resource gathering, which I think everyone has sort of come to understand now to a better sense. But we didn't know that back then. We're used to talking about that type of stuff now, but I remember everyone here in the town I grew up, the Des Moines Register printed a flag on the front page and with little cutout lines, and everyone had that flag taped to the front of their door. It was all hands on deck after September 11th.
Yeah.
And you never let a crisis go to waste in the Bush administration.
No, you sure don't.
Anyway, that's the story of Pat Tillman, gentlemen.
That's crazy.
Also
I had
happened-
no clue. I never would have known this. So thank you.
There's probably a Barbara fund set up somewhere, collecting nice checks.
We do have to do an episode on how Barbara Bush is the daughter of Aleister Crowley.
Wait, what?
That is yeah. Did you not hear about this? Barbara
No.
Bush. So have you listened to our Aleister Crowley episodes, Maverick?
I was on the first one.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were there.
Yeah. Sex Magic.
Yes. Remember when? Yeah. If you get a chance, look up Sex Magic. It's one of our best episodes, I think. But Aleister Crowley was in Italy before Mussolini kicked him out, and he was practicing all those black magic spells. And Barbara Bush's dad worked for, I can't remember what the corporation was, but it was a huge corporation for, I think, like bananas or something. And they went to Italy, and he went on a business trip, and she was in the same village as Aleister Crowley while he was practicing these orgy rituals. And 9 months later, when Bush was born.
Let's do this. I want to be on that episode.
She stumbles in to go grocery shopping and comes out cream pied. So.
Sex magic.
Sex magic. We got a voicemail. If you have any questions or any viewpoints on the Pat Tillman case, feel free to call our number. Lines are open now, 605-868-8404. We did receive a message after last episode. And let's give her a play here.
Wonder who it could be.
Big Dave here. Message from Bob Barker. Help control the furry population. Have your furry spayed or neutered. Goodbye.
Who is that?
Public service announcement from Big Dave.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I might be okay with eugenics in that case.
It's all circling around. It's all circling back.
I listened to some of the last week's episode, whenever you guys talked about furries and Devin's kid was on. And I'm just scarred of Monty asking, well, where does the tail go?
Yeah.
Hey, school kids, dude. Fuck off. Why would you even go there?
That's Monty. And
we all know where the tail goes. We all know.
Yeah.
We got another message here from the Phantom Fact line. Let's see what this one is about.
Oh, is it time to leave a message? Your intro is kind of weak.
All right, I don't appreciate that.
Anyways, I just finished watching Chris's TikTok that he sent about China and Taiwan, and I just want to say the whole Chinese threatening anybody in Taiwan, they're basically just like waving their dicks here. And let me tell you, racial stereotypes do apply in this situation. Russia's threat to anybody is as serious as an IPA drinker saying that they love that shitty beer. Awesome. Love you guys. Fuck you, Monty. Bye.
He's not here.
That's
all.
Yeah. I like how he got in the IPA statement.
Right, I had to. Yeah, dude, voicemail is so weird because like you have your intro and there's just a beep, and it's like, is this the actual beep or is it part of your intro? It's awkward.
You got to clean that up a little.
I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Phantom Fact line. That's 605-868. Go ahead.
Can I officially just say like fuck China?
Yeah, I think
I want a platform to say like China fucking sucks.
Absolutely. Yeah, probably won't be able to say that when we're live on TikTok, but
probably not. But I remember when PUBG came out and China was running they just owned, like the hackers owned PUBG. They would get so pissed off when you just told them Taiwan #1.
You know what? I think we should make it our goal, since we have to use a Chinese network, TikTok, to just somehow slipping anti-China statements. Totally.
We
got
should,
all the,
but
I'm
but
definitely
we
all
need
for that.
we need to get to 1,000 followers. My workaround for
first.
TikTok Live didn't work. 'Cause there's an article
We got-
saying, "Oh, if you put in a trouble ticket, just say, can you please enable it? I want to use your live services." That they'll just turn it on for you, right? So I did that, and I woke up to basically a message saying, "Oh yeah, when you become more successful, you can try our live feature." Fuck you.
And then they delete it, and then you can't ever get back to going viral or gaining more ground.
Right.
That's weird because usually we got like YouTube comments and stuff popping up. Maybe not today. Huh?
Yeah, no, it's well, we started 2 hours later than we normally started.
Oh.
We're just throwing people all over the area there, so we gotta
Throw those messages.
Now there's something. I think we're done with the Pat Tillman story. But there is something odd with the Ann Hesh accident. May brought this up. Why'd you bring this? Ann Hesh. People don't know. Former girlfriend to Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen.
Yeah. Yeah, Ellen.
Yeah.
She. There's video of her car going like 100 miles per hour down a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah.
And crashes into a house, and like doesn't just like bang into the house. The whole vehicle is inside the house.
Yeah.
Which then starts a fire that burns the house to the ground. And what was bothering you about that?
Well, it's just odd. Like, I mean, because she had another accident before that, like bumped into like a storage unit place, and then backed up and then took off. But like now they're diving into it. And like there's another video where like
I've got the video.
They must have thought she was dead. And if you play the video, they like the sheets over her, they got her strapped down on the gurney, they're rolling her, into the ambulance, and then she like pops up.
Yeah. And the official narrative is that she was brain dead, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So she's brain dead. So they were just keeping her on life support until they could distribute her organs, which, first of all, I think we should, as a public service announcement, is never be an organ donor on your license.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys heard about this?
No.
Yeah, you never. Yeah, they'll kill you for your shit because they still get paid for your organs. None of that goes to the family. So the
not mine. That's why. That's why I stay fat. When they're looking for somebody killed, they're like, "Hey, we need a liver," and they'll see my fat ass and go like, "Nope, pass."
Nope. That's probably rotten. It's probably no good.
Can't have that one. Expiration's coming up.
Well,
but it's just weird that whole thing with her because like now I'm starting to see like she's got a movie or documentary coming out about sex trafficking and Ellen and Oprah Winfrey and all these people are tied into this documentary movie that's going to come out that she has taken part in it, and then all of a sudden like she's lost her marbles and going 100 miles an hour down a neighborhood, just crashes into her because you watch one of the Ring doorbells and it's like it's almost like she can't stop, like she it's so odd.
Let's watch the video here because what was the reporter for the Rolling Stone had the car go flying by. It reminded me of that video of him and his Mercedes going flying down that suburban road. And here, let's you guys can see the video here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right.
Actress Anne Heche remains in a coma after that fiery car crash. Her condition is far worse
This
than
is her.
originally believed. Oh my gosh. According to her spokesperson, she's in critical condition and on a ventilator. Her burns will require...
That's it. That's the video.
Yeah. And
she's brain dead.
Yeah.
She's brain dead, right?
Her condition is far worse than originally believed. Oh my gosh. According to her spokesperson, she's in critical condition.
I mean, it looks like she's trying to get out.
Yeah.
Like, no, get back in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, supposedly too, there's comments where she is saying, no, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me if you put me in here. Like, so I don't know how much of that is true or not, but it's just when you try to leak or try to push out that sex trafficking and all that kind of just something just magically happens to you, and now they're blaming on her drug past, and she got back on the sauce and back on the drugs, and that's why she was, her behavior was headed that way because what she was doing. And I don't know. I mean, I just think it's.
I'm not a doctor, but
Her condition is far.
I've never
worse
seen a
than
brain
originally
dead person
believed.
do that.
Oh my gosh! According to her spokesperson, she's in critical condition.
I mean, I can
If
you
she's
do that?
suffocating,
Like,
if she's suffocating, like the natural reflex would kick in probably, but not. I don't know. I hope I never like uncover shit. I just want to know nothing. I see nothing. I say
I know nothing. You just want to be a gray man, just in the
Yeah,
gray.
like this world is too fucking sketchy.
There's some
Especially
weird
with
shit
the
going on
sex
with
trafficking
this.
stuff. Like, you got Trump's getting in trouble from Epstein's lawyer, and still think he's a pedophile, but whatever.
You think Trump's a pedophile?
I think Trump's a pedophile.
It's weird too, because I heard something about the judge that that gave permission for like the warrants and stuff is tied in with Epstein and
He
all
wasn't
that.
a federal judge. He was a magistrate judge.
Yeah, magistrate. Yeah.
So that's not even, that's the best they could find. And the reason why is he was Jeffrey Epstein's personal lawyer for 24 years before being appointed as a judge, which man, you
Is
talk
that
about
confirmed?
a favor. Yes, that's confirmed.
Because like I know like Fox News just put out a photoshopped image of that judge on his plane, on Epstein's plane. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that. It was
There's
photoshopped in though.
Yeah, so there's a picture apparently that they showed of that lawyer getting a foot rub from Ghislaine Maxwell.
No.
But they like linked it to no, this is actually an Epstein picture, and they photoshopped this dude's face on it.
Fox did.
But yeah.
Well, I listen
No, but-
to the best podcast in the universe, No Agenda Show, and they think that Trump designed the raid because and it's an interesting trail if you ever want to get a chance to listen to it, because Trump sets the whole narrative for certain terms that are used, like the term raid was Pelosi has reaction to it. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And if that's the case, it sort of supports Maverick's theory that Trump is indeed a pedophile if he's calling in a favor like that. I mean, he might have some connections, but it's worth looking into. The No Agenda podcast, if you ever get a chance. The last episode they just did, the Thursday episode, right away they start talking about it. And it's very interesting because what they do is they deconstruct news. So they'll play, from the 5 different major news networks, how they all carry a narrative of the same story. And you can dissect a lot of what their personal interests are compared to how they cover this story. And there's some very interesting notes about how they think Trump did it for to get his base riled up before he declares for his presidential run, because he almost immediately had a trailer out for a commercial made with sites of the FBI going into Mar-a-Lago and stuff, and the fact that warrant had been issued 7 days before the raid happened, and he just so happened to leave for New York when it did happen. It's very interesting perspective, worth listening to if you want your mind tickled a little bit. But
yeah, no, that dude's a pedophile.
But you know what? When you're in that type of power, it wouldn't surprise me. I'll put it that way. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, because he did only go to Epstein Island once. So
yeah, but he was good friends, and all the we've seen the Epstein documentaries. The recruiting happened at Mar-a-Lago and down the road from it. And
I thought they weren't friends.
They were friends. Up until the parent, they tried getting Ivanka's friend and Ivanka or whatever, and then he got pissed. But
didn't want his kids to be part of a pedophile ring.
Right, like, yeah, you can go. Yeah, no, fuck that guy.
Gentlemen, good show today. Thank you, Maverick, for joining us. Maverick runs our TikTok division. Been killing it. If you get a chance, go check out Phantom Facts, Phantom_Facts on TikTok. Give us a follow. We need 1,000 before we can go live and bring down the Chinese government after we're done with the American government.
That'd be great to just hit 1,000 and finally get live, and then every episode is just shitting on China.
One of my many goals. I even switch over to the Chinese microphone.
Yeah, it'll be up for 10 seconds, and they'll take it down. And
listen, one of us is going to die because we've gone after Disney, the U.S. government, the Bush family, the Clintons, and China. It's just, I'm hoping it's Devin, but
I was going to say, sorry, Monty. You know too much.
Monty is the best option here. That is a good point.
Yeah, he is in California.
Yeah.
Right.
One less Californian. Anyway, everyone have a good day. Leave a voicemail if you have any questions or comments about today's show. 605-868-8404. Click like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff, and follow us on Patreon, where the gold happens for our listeners that want to pay $1. I mean, what is it? Is $1 a month? Up to, whatever. What do you pay me? I forget. What is it? You do $1?
Promo code free. So just waiting,
right.
Just waiting for that.
We're all poor here.
Trial.
We can't even,
that week trial.
We can't even subscribe to our own Patreon. So please help support the podcast. Have a good evening, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday fun day.
Bye, Joe Rogan. I know you're watching.
Yeah. Love you, people.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
See you guys.